So, let's talk video game addiction. My addiction started, I would say, way back when I first got a computer. And the very first computer I had was like some old Tandy computer at a Radio Shack. My father and I took about 3 hours just to get this thing to sing Three Blind Mice. And it's saying it, of course, terribly. So, the computer, definitely a dinosaur, to say the least. My father ended up getting me a Sega Master System, and I think that's where the addiction really started to show its head, because I would go to a friend's house and I would see what they're playing, and they would be playing a Nintendo Entertainment System with the very first game I saw, and there was Metroid and Contra, and I just fell in love with the thing, and I had to have it. So I kept begging my father, hey, I want a Nintendo, and he's like, well, what about your Sega Master System? And I'm like, no, I want that, but I also want the Nintendo. And he's like, well, you can't have one, you can only have one or the other. So I got rid of the Master System in a very violent way, and he ended up getting me a Nintendo. So with my Nintendo, I was content for a short time, and then I ended up going to a neighbor's house where he had a Sega Genesis, and I saw how beautiful the games looked, and I was like, I just gotta have this thing. So I went up to my father again. I'm like, hey, can I get a Sega Genesis? And he's like, well, wait a minute, you just got a Nintendo because you didn't want a Sega anymore. Now you want a Sega again. You know, make up your mind, will you? Obviously my father didn't understand 8-bit and 16-bit technology. And, I mean, can you blame him? The guy was busy trying to work and, keep us fed and all that. But why is he going to spend time worrying about video game graphics? He's not. I get that now. As I got older, I got me a Super Nintendo, and then my friends still had their Sega Genesis, and they had really cool games on there like Jurassic Park and Altered Beast, and I loved their version of Mortal Kombat over the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat, so I ended up getting a Sega Genesis, and then I saw that the Sega CD was out, and I had to have one of those, and it just kept growing and growing. It got to the point where I wrote a bad check for a Sega Dreamcast. To me, it was nothing. It was just like, oh, I'm just game collecting. I'm just collecting video games. It's not a big deal. It's not like I'm smoking crack or I'm out hustling or doing any of that crazy shit. No, I was doing crazy shit, but with video games. It was my vice, and I didn't notice that until recently, when I decided I'm going to stop collecting. I think what really did it for me was having my son. I had my son, and I thought to myself, Rick, it's time to cut it out. You have other things you got to pay for now. And with that said, I said, okay, I'm done collecting. But the cool thing about the collection that I have now is now I can just pass it down to my son, and I noticed that he is interested in some of the video game stuff that I've done. He's sat down with me as I took apart my Sega Saturn so I can put in the mode so I can play games off a hard drive and no longer use the CD reader anymore. He was there when I played some Dreamcast and he wanted to play, and he was just having fun. Do I want him to be a gamer? Sure, I don't mind him being a gamer, but his studies got to come first. If anything, I want him to have his education. That's something I didn't really get. I mean, I ended up getting my GED, but to me that's just what they call the good enough diploma. It's not the real thing. I didn't get a chance to walk and have a ceremony, anything like my wife did. No, I didn't get any of that, and so I missed out on that. And I don't want him to miss out on those kind of things. So is collecting really over for anybody? I don't think so. I think if I was to go to a thrift shop again, and if I saw something cheap, I might pick it up. But then again, if I saw like a toy that my son's going to want, and it's the same price as a video game, I'm going to get that toy for my son. I guess in the end, your family's got to come first. And, eventually video games takes a back seat. So I guess that's the end of my rant for now. And I do apologize if it seems kind of like a downer or whatnot, but I just wanted to give you guys my perspective, and hopefully, there's someone out there who shares that perspective. Until next time, be true, be you.